that says, my youngest sister always takes my clothes and stationery without asking. If I complain, she goes crying to mother, who says I mustn't upset her. We end up yelling at each other until my parents send us to our rooms. Then the storm passes, at least till the next time. Okay? So there's a conflict that occurs here, but was the issue resolved really? In other words, for
Way
some
how you solve it, sir, is like letting the little sister allow your little sister to wear good. Simple.
right, but that doesn't solve the conflict, because here's the thing though. The conflict is the fact that one sister isn't okay with giving her stuff away, and the other sister is taking it. So the way that you could resolve this conflict by making both parties come to an understanding and agree is using one of the following. I'll show you. So here are the different methods to solve a family conflict so that both members are satisfied, right? Because if the sister just gives her clothing, she isn't internally satisfied, just the sister that she gave it to. So let's look at it. Sorting it out before the family goes to sleep. It's either you're gonna up the allowance, either the father or the parents are gonna up the allowance, right? Sleeping on it and sorting it out tomorrow. It's a contrast. Taking time to cool off alone, to think by yourself. Calling a family meeting, because you can discuss it as a family to decide, Dad, what should we do? Writing a letter or a note to explicitly tell the family what is happening, or doing something special together as a family. So this could either be you going to the store and surprising her, right? But in other case, these are different ways now where both parties will be satisfied after the fact, not just one member.
Sir, the first one, sorting it out before the family goes to sleep.
Right, so that could be one. Excellent. There's another
Sir,
one as well.
yes.
There's one more that you could use, because remember, it's simply saying that there's some communication barrier where they're talking but no one is listening. So I think that you could write a note to explain every single thing that's happening, so that the person understand, so that the family members understand. Because if they're both shouting, they aren't really saying what needs to be said. They're just speaking emotionally, right? So if they write a letter or a note now to really explain everything on their side, then now without the emotions, I can see who exactly is at fault, what exactly is happening, and how we can move on. Understand? So there's two different methods that would really solve this. Right? There you go. Okay, good. Let's do one more example. One more example. So let's put the different methods here. Right? Then we're going to B. B says, my siblings and I used to have raging fights. Then one day, our parents got us to sit down, right, and write a list of what we really like and appreciate about each other. Now, when my sisters are driving me crazy, it's easier to remember that I actually like them. Now, in this question now, the problem is resolved. So I'm going to ask you now, what strategy did they use to solve this conflict? All right, let's go back to the different strategies.
Name, sir, but only thing I know that it's something with writing things that you know like about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you list the stuff that you like about each other, it's easier to know that your siblings love you and you like this about them, that about them.
Right, right. So this could be a case of calling a family meeting, right? Or it could even be just doing something special where you just write a list about each other. So that's excellent. Good job. Right? So that was conflicts in the family. Right? In summary though, what I want you to do is gonna answer these questions as well. Right? List 4, so hashtag activity. It's not Instagram though. Hashtag activity says list 4 different home conflicts that could be solved by the strategies listed given. All right, so you're gonna come up with 4 different scenarios, right, and place them right here. So that's your first activity. Let's go on and move to now. Let's go to now. Going to now conflicts in the neighborhood and school.
Answer this now, sir.
Yes, you can answer it now, but just type it here. So let me just give you a space. So this is where you're gonna type it. Let me put George.
I am gonna do it myself.
There you go. But the next step we're gonna go to George is conflicts in the home. I mean in the neighborhood and schools. Now for this section, I actually did this class already. So I'm gonna play the video from this part of it, because to really show you that, hey,
Do
you
you
can.
understand it, sir? Because I did this in class. Just
Oh,
a little bit about it, sir.
so you did this already?
Just a little bit of it about it, sir. Just a little
Right.
bit, not about didn't go in detail.
Okay. So do you know the different types of strategies though? So give me an example of a strategy you could use.
Sir, that he could go to their parents. That sounds he could, when you meet them in school the other day, he can call the council, or
Right.
I don't know what their name is.
But here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. You see, all of those, they come under broad topics, which I advise you to just memorize. Instead of giving specific strategies, just memorize 4 general strategies and you'll be good. Here they are. Peer mediator programs, anti-bullying programs, class meeting, counseling, and guidance. That's it. So you have to really talk about parents and etc. Oh, we did this last week?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes, we
we
did.
so we can move on then, because you said that you were at conflicts. That's how I really went over it. All right, so let's move on. Next topic that we're gonna get into is strategies to deal with personal conflicts. Now, so it's not a case where you have a conflict with your friends or family members. You're having a conflict, for example, with just understanding the principles. Right? So we can write that. My bad.
One way that you can solve that, sir, by talking to your parents or whatever their name is, talking to your
George,
parents.
someone says they're in the waiting room. Karen says he's in the waiting room. Ah, welcome everyone.
Morning, sir.
Morning, morning. Right, so we were just going over just some previous topics. My bad for not seeing that you were in the waiting room. All right.
No problem.
So I was just going over some topics that we discussed last week just to really get a refresh. But what I want to go through really is human development. Right, that's going to be the next topic after you get into self-esteem and etc. So human development now. Right, there are really 4 main stages. All right, let's go on the notebook. Let me give you the notebook link.
So it's the same link as always, right?
Right, the same link as ours, but now we're going to November 21st. So you should see a different date now. But for Cameron, I'm not sure if he knows how to do it, so I'm just gonna send him the link. All right, here you go, Cameron and Alex. All right,
Sir,
yeah.
I was wondering, maybe after we have exams, could you maybe give us a short test on everything we covered?
That's probably a good idea, right? Yeah, I would do that. I would do that. But as I said, extra class isn't a case where I really revise what your teacher does. I really give you an introduction to what will be coming. So today really is gonna be focusing on stages of human development. But I'm not sure if that will be on your specific exam. So let's have a consensus. Do you want us to go over topics or do you want to move on to a new topic called human development?
Sir, I was talking to Miss Burks earlier, right? And I told her that we're going over conflict, right?
Uh-huh.
And then
I asked her what the next topic would be. She said it would be marriage and law.
But we already discussed that.
Okay.
Did it also, sir?
Yeah, we already discussed that a long time ago. Because we
Yes,
talk
sir.
about the fact that, for example, you know what? Just to really make sure you're studying for your exam, here's what I'll do. I'm gonna give you a one-page summary of every topic, and then we'll go through it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go give a one-page summary. Let's go back to the top. All right, the first topic that we really want to cover is the functions of the family and the definition. All right, let me give you a one-page summary. All right, so the different types of unions, everything. Let's start from the top. Okay, the first thing is that there are different types of families. Here's a quick diagram just to make you study the different types of families. Here you go. Let me just put it here. So let's follow along with me. Right? So it's going to be exam revision. Exam revision. First thing, the different types of families. Look at this diagram. You're going to study this diagram. Here we go. Upload. Because I don't think it's advisable for me to start a new topic because it looks like that would be in the next year for human development. Here we go. These are the different types of families. Everybody got it? Now the next thing we're going to go into, let's write it, is case study examples of the types of families. So they're going to give you scenarios as to, for example, Michael, etc., has this friend. What type of family are they? Right? Here's 3 examples, and you're going to practice these to ensure that you understand families. Examples of types of families, and we call these case studies. Right? Case study. Just to prepare for your exam, you're going to answer these 3 questions. Then put hashtag activity. Right? So here's the questions. There we go. Michael and Joanne were classmates. During their studies, they began dating. After 2 years of courtship, followed by a 6-month engagement, they have 2 children, etc. You're gonna review what the types of families are and tell me what A is, what B is, and what C is. Everybody understand? Capiche?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Let's move on. Next topic after that is unions, right? And as I said, I'm just giving you summaries now. So we're going to talk about the advantage and disadvantage of the different families. Here you are. Quickly. So here's a diagram. You're going to study this diagram now. It tells you explicitly what the advantages of nuclear is versus extended. Right? Let's look at this diagram. The advantages and disadvantages to the types of families. Here we go. Right? And here's your diagram now. You're going to look at this table now. It says nuclear has these advantages. It also has these disadvantages. Using this table, you're going to now answer the examples scenario. We call this a case study. Example of the advantages and disadvantages case study. So these are really exam style questions. Case study. Right, hashtag activity. This is not Instagram. Here we go. So here are the examples now for you to practice.
Sir.
Uh-huh.
I do social studies exam, so do I still have to be doing this exam?
You already did the social studies exam?
No, sir. I am doing social studies exams and tests. So
Right.
I have to be this.
Exactly, right. So this is really, so we're shifting the class from learning a new topic to just revising every topic for your exam. Let me go over it. The first topic that you should have learned was the different types of families. I gave you a diagram. Then you're going to practice these 3 questions to prepare for the exam. So tell me what type of family each is in each diagram. I mean, in each case study. And the next topic was advantages and different disadvantages of families. Here's a diagram. It tells the different advantages and disadvantages. You're gonna practice now this question that says Brandon and Emma were studying. At first they were classmates, then developed stronger feelings, right? Tell me what type of advantage or union this would be. But let me quickly now give you an example. So let's discuss really in case study A. Let's do case study A first. Let me give an example. So look at this one. Brandon and Emma met while they were studying. At first, they were just classmates, but then they developed stronger feelings for one another. They dated for 2 years, and then they decided to move in together. This was 6 years ago. They never got married, but they have a baby girl together, and they live together as a family. What type of union is this?
A common law.
Exactly. Right? So you're going to practice now these vocabulary terms. What is common law? Right, let me show you the terms. So these are the terms that you.
When you have a baby, when you have a child, and you live together, but you aren't married.
Excellent, excellent. So look at this for me now, Karan. So what you just said, here they are. So these are the terms that will be coming on your exam. Remember what union is, what marriage is, what common law marriage is, and finally what is visiting relationship. If you remember these, you will do excellent on your exam. All right? Everybody understand?
Yeah, by exam, are you talking about the one you're going to give us or like C-Sec exam?
No, the one I'm going to give you.
Okay.
All right?
But sir, can you like make it like after a couple weeks because like we have test exams coming up on from December 1st.
Exactly. So that's why now I said that I'm gonna just give you exactly what I basically give you scenarios that you can practice now. So when you're doing the exam, it's literally just a revision. Right? I'll put that date a little further down the line because I know exams are coming up now. All right. So after these two topics, the next thing is gonna be family history. Right? You guys know what family history is? Where I gave the example of, for example, well, Karen should remember because he was here that class. I think he was the only person here. But I said really to really practice family history. Let's look at a diagram. Family history. History. I gave Karen an example that looked like this. There we go. And he was to answer some questions based on this. Right? Let's take a step back and remember what those questions were, Karen. Right, for those who weren't here. The first question asked, what does the letters B, D, and M stand for? Let me write those.
Sir, for like, you see where you have B, right? Above this, where you have Janelle still lives with her parents. That one, sir, right? Would that be a visiting union?
Repeat.
Sir, for this one, Janelle still lives with her parents.
Mm-hmm.
She has been in a relationship with her boyfriend, Leroy, since she was 17 and he was 23. Now she is 22 and has two children. Her parents help her take care of the children as Leroy still lives with his family. That would be a
visiting relationship. Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Okay, good. So now for family history, as I said, to really explain what family history is that your origins come from your grandparents. I mean, your traditions and customs come from your grandparents, which is your origin, right? And in your family history now, you can tabulate or detail your family history by using a family tree, right? You need to define what a family tree is. So here are the different terms you need to remember in family history that we went over a couple weeks ago, right? Origins, ancestry. So we're going to say terms to remember. Hashtag activity. Simple. There's not much. All you're going to do is just revise what we went through and tell me what these terms mean. What does origins mean? Ancestry, grandparents, customs, traditions, family tree. This one is a very big one too, genealogical. When I went through this, it was some students didn't understand it, but they went through the steps because you said that you can break down these words. Gene, right? Logical, combine them together. What do you get? Okay? Aunts and uncles. So these are the terms that you really need to remember. So again, these are just exam revision. Let me number them. Right? So let me just organize these. There we go. So in other words, we've went through different types of families, advantages and disadvantages, and then family history. Okay. The next topic that we went through was functions of the family. Okay. So here are the different functions or roles that each family member has. Here we go. So on this diagram, functions of the family. We said that your grandparents is really you're supposed to foster the customs and norms in the family, give to the parents, and the parents then give to the child, right? So they are really your maternal or paternal grandparents, right? So these are the different functions that each parent or each role in the family have. But then when we look at, for example, the diagram that tells you the different functions now, I remember I showed that there's 5 main functions, right? There was economic, biological, what's the next two? What's the next three rather? Social, emotional, and cultural slash educational. Am I lying or do you guys remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
All right. So let me show that diagram. Slash upload. So again, if you don't have the notes, you don't have to be worried. As long as you have the virtual notebook, it should, I said should because I know you guys are busy, it should substitute at its very best to ensure that you have the different topics that you should study. So here's a diagram that shows the different functions that we went through, and you're going to just practice these by attempting the activity question now. Here's the activity question. Functions of the family hashtag activity. All right. And I'm pretty sure George and Karen knows how to see their activities, but I'll go over it for Alex and Cameron. Right. So when you're on the website and you want to find out what activities here we're talking about, because I forgot. You're gonna go to this and select, it says filter page. You're gonna select activity. It shows you the different activities under each topic. So for example, this activity was to tell me the examples, whatever family they are. This activity was to detail the advantages and disadvantages. Here we are. Right. If I'm going too fast or you don't understand something, please use this slider. Here we go. So oh my bad. Let me just turn activity off. If I am going too fast and you want me to stop and say, sir, slow down, put it at 0 or 5, anything below 5, so I can just know to stop. Right? And it will be anonymous, so you don't have to be worried that I take offense because I won't know who slide it down. All right? Then on the next topic after we discussed function of the family, let me just quickly put the activity first. The activity was for you to remember these key terms and practice these 2 questions. We can remember that. But what I'm thinking, your social studies exam is supposed to be in December, correct? So for those who do social studies, your teacher, Miss Burt, should be telling you that it's going to be in December. What I'm thinking is that, someone says 10. Excellent. What I'm thinking is that if it's a case where every topic is identical, I am just going to now merge the 2 exams and tell her, Miss, can you just make us do one big exam instead of two separate exams because that would be difficult. So if it's a case where she finished her exam, finished setting her exam, and I look at it, it's the same as mine or very similar, I will just merge the exams together to make life easier.
Sir, we don't do like the end of year.
Repeat?
But I don't know if we're doing like the end of term and year exams for social studies.
You're not sure?
So because
it's an extra class.
Yes, it's an extra class for us.
Right. Oh, okay, I got you. So for those who don't do it, for those who do it separately, no, you guys will be getting this exam. But for example, George and Cameron,
George is the only one that does social studies as a class in school. The rest of us do it as an extra class.
Oh, even Cameron as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So that means that we're on the same page then. Good. So we'll.
Let's have another question. Sir, in one of the activities, right?
Yeah.
Into which of 5 functions does each of the following fit?
Mm-hmm.
This one says an aunt paying for her niece's school fees.
Yeah.
Would this be cultural/educational or economic? Because it has to do with money.
Right.
It has to do with as well.
Exactly. That's a good question. Because let's look at what the motive is. An aunt paying for her niece's school fees. Let's go back to know what economic means. So go back to economic. Providing basic needs such as food, shelter, security, and clothing. So the security in this sense is her education. So it would be an economic function. Right? The educational function that you think it is really that aunt teaching her, not paying for her education. Understand? So it's a difference. So when it's economic, you can provide that school needs for her, but if you teach her, that will be educational. So you see the difference? Let me go over it again. Let's read it again. It says, an aunt paying for her niece's school fee. What is the aunt doing? She's what? Using money, correct? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Right. The aunt is using money to do what? To provide for her
school fees.
Right. So she's providing for her niece using money. Let's go.
Sir, I would think it would be educational.
It wouldn't be educational. Read educational. It says, within a family, a child acquires knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes that form part of their education. Beliefs, traditions, morals. So the education part of the aunt's role is really teaching the child about the history of the family, or teaching them what religion we believe in, or teaching them, for example, where we live or how we behave. That will be educational function. But the economic function now is providing financially for the niece by giving her a roof over her head, giving her clothes, right? Providing for her school fee, right? Because they're using money. So when they're buying food, aren't you using money?
Yes, sir.
Right. So when you're paying for her school fee, aren't you using money?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So it's an economic basis. It's not an educational basis. But they are related though. So you're not completely wrong because you did correlate both of the functions together, which is good. But the predominant one is that she's paying for her school fee. If the question said that the aunt was looking for scholarships now, then I would probably lean more towards the educational function. Because she's.
What if it said the aunt was teaching the niece about the different ancestors in their historical past? That would be
educational.
That would be educational.
Excellent. Right. Right? So it's giving that niece values and knowledge that form part of their education. But if you're paying for her school fee now, that's a separate type of education. All right, good. I'm glad you asked that question because it helps to clarify some things. All right, so that's your activity for 6. We're going to 7 now. We're going to say, well, really, the only thing we have left to understand is what exactly comprises of the biological, emotional, and social functions. So what I mean by that is if I tell you that my aunt provides for me economically, describe it more to me, right? It's not about, it's clothes, food, and shelter. Describe it in terms of different properties or characteristics that I could generalize for every family. Here's what you're going to look at. So we're going to say for social, biological, and emotional, here are the guidelines to provide for them using these functions. So guidelines slash principles of the functions. So if you do any of the following, then you're going to be at X amount of function. I mean, this type of function. Let's look at it.
Sir.
Yeah?
So, oh yeah, they told you already that I'm doing social study as a regular subject.
Right, exactly. So we're gonna have to really speak further about how we're gonna do the exam for you, George. So just remind me after class just to really speak to your parents or speak to the Miss Burt who teaches you how we're gonna do that one. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Right. Because we're gonna need to formulate a proper schedule for you. Right, so these are the first three. So this now essentially describes further as, for example, what exactly is the biological function. So we say for biological function, not all unions result in children. However, in society as a whole, human beings need to reproduce in order to continue the human society. Therefore, the most basic function of the family is to produce children. Let me stop right there. You see, on your exams, they're always going to come with the question, which function is the most important, or which function is the most basic and necessary one? It has to be the biological, because if you don't have any children, how are you going to provide other functions for those children? You understand? So if you didn't do the biological function of making a child, how are you going to provide emotionally for that child? I hope you get that. So that's the most important function, doing the biological aspect of actually making a child. So whenever you see those questions that says, oh, which one is the most important function? You know it has to be the biological. All right? Because if you can't provide financially for that child, the child can just go into adoption or orphanage. All right? Let's look at the other two now. Cultural and economic. So for Karen's question now, this should help you to really see why I said it's economic. Right? For the question that you asked. So there's emotional, biological, and social. Here is economic and educational. Excellent. There we go. All right. Economic is where the everyone have basic needs. The child needs to learn, right? Families need to provide for these basic needs. So you need an income to pay for those goods and services. The service in this case being her education at the school. The person who earns the greatest amount of money would be the family breadwinner. And we discussed that the breadwinner doesn't have to be always the male. Nowadays, because of technology and improvements in the family life on a whole, the woman can be the breadwinner as well. Right? And we're going to go into that as well. So just ensure that you practice these and then you answer this question to remember the activity. Let's go back up here. So we're going to say now activity. We're going to say now hashtag activity, not Instagram, to prepare for the guidelines. Here's what we're going to say. We're going to say you're going to answer these three questions and remember these three vocabulary terms. How many members of your family work? You're going to answer that personally. You don't have to write it here. You can answer it personally just to ensure that you're studying this. You're going to say, how many members of your family work? Who is the main breadwinner? Who does the domestic work in your home? Is this work shared equally amongst the family members? If not, who is responsible for it? So you're going to have to say, well, what is that domestic work? Go back into the guidelines. Look at the different aspects that I mentioned earlier, right? Let's look at it. Domestic work. It says cooking, cleaning, and laundry. Who does that in your family? You're gonna answer that, right? Then it asks you, if If it's not one person, who is the persons that are responsible for it? It's a case where your siblings come together and take the load of these works, right? Where you cook, clean, and do the laundry. The next question says, who looks after the children or elderly in your family? And use these terms when you're answering the questions. Everybody understand?
Yes.
All right. So what I want you to understand though is that you can email me for every step. You can say, sir, I'm gonna message you about step one. Write step one in the subject and ask me a question. If it's gonna be, for example, I'm not sure how to answer this question, just message me and I'll guide you. Because when you do that now, you're actually doing the exam, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
Is that okay?
Repeat?
Is it okay if I can message you on WhatsApp or no?
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. No problem. All right? Email or WhatsApp, not a problem. All right, let me just put hashtag activity there. Good. Let's go to now 7. All right. So I know it's a lot to take in right now, but remember, the earlier that I give you and the earlier you start is the better that you have control over how much your grade will be. I saw that Alex leave. I'm recording it, but I still would like to make sure that he's here because I don't see him frequently. All right. The next topic then was to go into the rules. And here's the good part about it. It's very hard for you to memorize every single rule, right? It's hard for you to just sit down and say, what is my grandparents' role in the family? So what I did, I have some beautiful diagrams to show you the rules. There's 2 bullet points that really show you that that's really it for parents and grandparents. So here we go. So here's your parents and your grandparents' role in the family. You're going to use this to understand and answer the questions that come after. So here we go. Roles and responsibilities. Right? Here is your grandparents and your parents' roles. Excellent. Everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's move into now your role in the family. Children's role. So the children's role is going to be for you to show respect to your parents, help with the household. So you can really just memorize 2 or 3, but make sure that you actively do the activity questions now. So you don't feel flustered in the exam when you say, I forgot the different types of roles that I have in my family. And then you have to create some. And we don't have to create things that we're not sure of, right? Just remember that you actively just practice these questions. So there's your role now. The children role is to show respect, help with the household, care for the older people in the family, the elders, attend school and take your responsibility for the studying, and ensure that you don't waste your family's possessions. That's all that your family requires of you. I know they probably say, oh, make sure that what do they say? Make sure that you don't play too much video games, right? That's an additional role, and we talk about that. Right? But now to practice these roles, we're gonna say hashtag activity. This is not Instagram. Roles and responsibilities. And as I said, I understand you guys don't like to write. So if you want to use this website itself rather than writing in a notebook for extra classes only, you can. All you need to do is put 2 brackets, then type your name. Karan, your name will come up. So whenever you type a note and you want to come back on the website, you want to look for your notes, then now you can filter for only the things that you typed. There you go. All right, that's an additional feature. So if you want to use this notebook to study, you just want to type, just ensure that you put your name, and wherever you type, the website will recognize it. All right. All right, there we go. So the different roles and responsibility questions now. For example, what if you were George and you wanted to type on this? I think I have Alex as well. What if you were Alex? There we go. What if you were Cameron? All right. Good. Let's look at it now. Okay. So it's 12:45. Time is gonna expire. So let's rejoin. Oh, it's only 5 minutes. Excellent. All right, let's rejoin after the 5 minutes. So here's your questions now and the key vocabulary terms. Right? The question says, you are in a family of 4. You have your brother, your mother, and your grandmother. Your dad died a few years ago, so your oldest brother started working to help to support your mother. With your mother and brother working, let me just get the picture so you can see what I'm saying. Here we go. So, if at any point you want me to stop or slow down or explain something further, you have the slider right here. I put it at 0 because I'm being kind. I know I'm not the best teacher, but I'm just being kind. All right. So here's the questions you're going to practice. Using these 4 vocabulary terms, answer these 3 questions from this case study right here. It says, we are a family of 4. My mother, my oldest brother, my grandmother, and me. My dad died a few years ago, so my oldest brother started working to help my mother support us. Right? With my mother and brothers working, my grandmother looked after us. 1 second. Let me just set the timer for 15 minutes so I don't lose track. All right, there we go. All right. After me most of the time, but she's very old. I worry about something happening to her. Then I would be on my own at home during the day. James. Answer these 3 questions for James. Right? And then use these 4 vocabulary terms. Excellent. Let's move on now. So you see now? So I see someone else. Someone else signed up for this? Who's Benita29 at gmail.com? I didn't know.
Me, sir. Me, sir.
Oh, you created an account.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Good job, man. Thank you. So now we can actually so now that you have an account, George, I'll show you what responsibilities you have now. Because I can now share documents with you. All right. I can just add your email now and you get the work instantly in your email. So that's
Okay,
right.
that's fine.
Exactly. Right. All right. Let's move on now. So the next thing now that we're gonna move on into is the prestigious conflict. So you see how fast we're moving now? So we did talk about conflict. So I'm gonna give you the 6 steps to solving any conflict in the world. And you're gonna answer 2 questions for me. All right, so here's the steps. Steps to solve conflicts. Here we go. Upload. Here we go. So the 6 steps, as I said, was for you to acknowledge your problem, commit to solving that problem by finding a solution, expressing yourself calmly and hearing that person, right? Then acknowledging both of your faults, then work together to prevent from this problem to happen again. That's the steps. Using those steps now, answer these 2 questions. Questions to practice conflict, #activity. There we go.
Sir,
Yeah.
how do I edit it to see my name but not my email?
Let me quickly see. Because if you have an account now, George, let me see how I do it. Settings. Let's go on settings, user settings. All right. I'm gonna now select that I can see your user icon. There we go. All right. But I'm not sure how to change your name though, because wait. I'll figure it out and then I'll tell you, but I'm not sure exactly yet. All right. So now to practice these questions, you're gonna answer these 2 things for me. Using this case study where someone is angry, they wanted to turn that music down, right? Calmly assess the situation. So here's the situation. The situation is that someone is begging you to turn the music down. Then you say, or the person says, I don't want to come to church today. I want to go to the beach with my friends. And another situation says, that crowd is a bad influence. What's wrong with your old friends? In these 3 conflicts, what issue do you think is causing the conflict? And who is making the statement, a parent or a child? All right? And as I said, there's some vocabulary terms that I want you to use. So here are the vocabulary terms you're going to use to answer or while you're answering those questions. Here we go. /upload. So as I said, if you actively commit to just practicing these questions, you've already done the exam. When you go in that exam, you'll be laughing because not only did I give you the notes, but I gave you case studies that would be on exams for you to practice with. And I actually give you the terms that you must use in your case studies. So I've done 3 things for you: giving you the notes, giving you case studies, and tell you what words to use in your case studies. What more could you ask for? All right, you there?
So is the language teacher going to be joining this link, or do we join her link?
Her room. You join her room, right? For the last 2 topics, conflicts in the home and then conflicts at school. Then we're finished. For conflicts in the home now, gonna answer these 2 questions. Well, we went through them already. You just need to recall what exactly we said. I think Karen and today I did go through it with George. These 2 questions. So conflicts in home. All right, /upload.
So I'm gonna share a screen with it.
Oh, my bad. All right, let's just quickly wrap up. All right, there we go. So here's conflicts in the home. Answer these 3 questions by listing the strategies that I mentioned above. You should remember the strategies, but just to be safe, let's write the strategies here. Strategies. And then I'm going to tell you the vocabulary terms you must use. So the strategy is sorting it out before you go to sleep, sleeping on it and sorting it out tomorrow, taking time to cool off alone, right? Writing a letter or a note. Let's try those strategies. 1 second. All right, there we go. And then the last topic, hooray, we're finished. The last topic, well, let me give it a vocabulary term because I said I would, just to make you know what I'm looking for when I'm marking. So the terms I'm looking for you to use when I'm marking is gonna be conflict resolution, just that. It's conflict resolution, right? No, remember that term? So we're gonna say term to use, conflict resolution, right? And then we're at the last topic, which is number 10. We're gonna say now, wait 1 sec. There we go. Excellent. Last topic, 10, conflicts at school or neighborhood. There we go. Let's wrap up now, finally. Let's wrap up. All right, so in this one now, all you're going to do is answer these 2 case studies and use the term bullying when you're answering it. So we're going to say now, /upload. And just remember that, just to show you the strategies that I said before, I'm going to give you that as well. Here we go. So answer these 2 questions using the terms conflict resolution, using the terms conflict resolution and bullying. All right. And then now to go over the strategies that were listed, I'm just going to simply say the strategies were peer mediator programs, anti-bullying programs, class meetings, and counseling. and guidance. And then that's it for this term. That's everything that we discussed this term. When you come back now, we're going to talk about human development. All right, everybody? Right, so just practice these. I know this seems like a lot, but if you commit to just practicing one question a day or one question every 2 days, right, you should be able to finish before the exam. All right, I'm just delete that. So there's, in other words, 9 main topics. There was one more, self-esteem, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be an exam. Did Karen, did Miss Berg go through self-esteem with you?
No, sir, not yet.
All right, so I don't have to go through it. George, did you go through self-esteem?
Yes.
All right, so I have to give George one moment. So for self-esteem, George, the main thing you need to understand is that there's a characteristics to describe people with high self-esteem and low, right?
Sir, you can put that on the test too, sir. I want to try it. Even.
All right, no problem. Here you go. So let me put it here quickly. Self-esteem. Here you go. And here's a little table.
So it's like self-esteem, like the way you feel about yourself, like whether you feel high about yourself.
Exactly.
You have no confidence.
Exactly. Good job, Karen. So here's really the different things that determine if you have high self-esteem or low self-esteem. If you have confidence, like you said, if you can communicate effectively what you want, and you're comfortable with change, that's the main characteristics, right? And then the low self-esteem aspect is there. Then now to practice for the exam, since Karen wants it on the exam, here we're gonna say now hashtag activity, not Instagram. There we go. Self-esteem. Let's quickly write this before we finish. I'm going to say now, you're going to now simply tell me which of the following does not describe someone with high self-esteem. True or false, or just indicate which one it is. Here we go. Right, and for the terms that you're going to use, so here we go. That's going to be what you practice. So just look at the different A, B, C, and D, and tell me if it describes someone with high self-esteem. And then true or false after that. All right. So the terms I wanted to use is just simply self-esteem, high self-esteem, and low self-esteem. And then that takes us to the finale of this term. Let's put that here. Right, and that's it, guys. Any questions? So there we go. All right, that is it. So that is it. But again, to look at the topics, you're gonna go to the top right, look at activity. There you go. It's gonna show you that you have activity in 10, activity in 7, 6, 5, 4 to straight to 1. But it does says 8 activities, so you only have 8, not 10. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna stop recording here.